$25 be in rent relief included in new stimulus package? Is it enough to help renters at risk of eviction? The stimulus package agreed on by Congress this week provides relief for renters worried about making ends meet as the pandemic drags on. But that sense of security may be short-lived for many unless political leaders take further action to prevent evictions. The Consolidated Appropriations Act includes an extension of the CDC's eviction moratorium for renters through Jan 31, 2021. It also offers monetary relief to some renters in distress, although the details of how soon they'll be able to apply for that aid are unclear. What is the eviction moratorium? In August, President Donald Trump announced an executive order providing an eviction moratorium for renters that started on Sept 4 and was set to expire at the end of 2020. The order, now extended through Jan 31, was supposed to prevent landlords from evicting tenants who don't pay rent for reasons related to the coronavirus, like job loss or income reduction. Under the moratorium, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Department of Health and Human Services use their authority under the Public Health Service Act to protect renters from being evicted from their homes, potentially becoming homeless and spreading the novel coronavirus. The new stimulus package also provides $25 billion in financial assistance that households will be able to use to pay past due rent, future rent, and utility bills or other housing expenses incurred by the pandemic. Which renters will receive protection? Rent relief. Rent relief funds will be distributed to state and local governments. You may qualify for rent relief if the following criteria apply to you or your living situation. One or more members of your household has qualified for unemployment benefits, experienced a reduction in income, or experienced other financial hardship due to the pandemic. You can demonstrate a risk of housing instability by presenting a past due utility bill, past due rent notice, or eviction notice. You have household income of no more than 80% of the area's median income per household. States and cities receiving funds to provide rental assistance are instructed to prioritize the following applications. Household income does not exceed 50% of the area median income per household. One or more members of the household are unemployed and have been unemployed for 90 days prior to applying for assistance. In most cases, funds granted to renters will be paid to their landlord or utility company directly by the state or city managing the money. Landlords and property owners may apply for assistance on behalf of their tenants with permission from the tenant. Eligible households can receive up to 12 months of assistance, but may be approved for up to 15 months of aid in some circumstances. Eviction moratorium. Meanwhile, the extension of the renter's eviction moratorium provides eviction protections for people making $99,000 or less per year, or $198,000 for couples filing jointly. Any rent you owe continues to be due. You're simply protected from being evicted if you can't make your payments. This order does not relieve any individual of any obligation to pay rent, make a housing payment, or comply with any other obligation that the individual may have under a tenancy, lease, or similar contract, reads the notice published in the Federal Register when the moratorium was established in September. Nothing in this order precludes the charging or collecting of fees, penalties, or interest as a result of the failure to pay rent or other housing payment on a timely basis, under the terms of any applicable contract. In order to be protected from eviction, you must prove that you're likely to become homeless if kicked out of your dwelling. To do this, you have to fill in and sign a declaration which asks you to declare the following. Your income is within the requirements of the order, or you received a stimulus check. You're unable to pay full rent or make a full housing payment because you lost income, you were laid off, or you had out-of-pocket medical expenses. You've made partial payments wherever possible. That if you were to be evicted, you'd likely be homeless, need to move into a homeless shelter, or share a new residence in close quarters with multiple people. Landlords continue to evict tenants. Housing advocates welcome the relief bill, but say more aid is necessary to patch renters' long-term concerns. The $25 billion for eviction assistance is a practical start for staving off the immediate threat of mass evictions across the country, said David Dworkin, President and CEO of the National Housing Conference. In an emailed statement, more will be needed to prevent housing insecurity for millions of low and moderate income households who are managing the economic fallout of the pandemic. A report by Popular Information, a news and politics newsletter, found that proving the executive order's requirements may be too onerous for people who are disproportionately affected by the pandemic and who may lack access to legal help. The report found that after the executive order began, landlords were filing evictions proceedings against tenants and challenging their circumstances in court. families who are struggling with loss of income, lack of childcare, or putting food on the table due to the pandemic may have a tough time dealing with these legal obstacles. According to the Popular Information Report, 90% of landlords have legal representation, but only 10% of renters do. Popular Information also found that landlords are finding loopholes in the executive order. The report says the federal moratorium, for example, only explicitly prohibits evictions for reasons of non-payment of rent. This means that, subject to the interpretation of state judges, landlords can continue to evict tenants when their lease expires. As previously reported by Forbes Advisor, the dilemma of providing rent relief isn't solved easily. Canceling rent creates disruption in communities and institutions that benefit from state and local government taxes paid by landlords. Eviction moratoriums may delay, not cancel, payments and have the potential to require lump sum payments at the end of the forbearance period. If you can't afford to pay your rent for a single month, it would likely be even harder to come up with several months' worth of rent when the moratorium ends. An estimated 40 million people are at risk of being evicted during the pandemic, according to research by a group of housing experts.